Ladies and gentlemen, with your kind indulgence, we'll get started on the second half of this evening's program. And I'm sorry for my own responsibility in getting the schedule somewhat behind time. And I'm going to ask your kind indulgence again for a few minutes extra in the program, because we are very fortunate to have with us again tonight the famous correspondent, researcher, active participant in a lot of international affairs, Hilaire du Berrier, and with the kind indulgence of our main speaker, the Reverend Mr. Hammond, I have asked Mr. du Berrier if he would take just 2 or 3 minutes, and I think maybe I better leave my watch here, but I see he has one, and to tell us the most urgent thing that he has run across in his recent travels, because he has just come from France by way of Washington, I believe, or New York? By way of New York, and so I don't need to introduce Hilaire du Berrier.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I can't begin to tell you how happy I am to be with you, and I shouldn't try because I always say the same thing every year. I got in here late today because I spent the greater part of the day in New York with the new Cambodian ambassador to the United Nations. He's a gentleman who has no delusions about the United Nations. From his office, I went to see the ambassador of South Vietnam to the United Nations. These men are absolutely sick because whereas as late as 1 year ago, the United States government was saying that they would never consider for a moment a coalition government in South Vietnam, because a coalition government would be dominated by the communists. Today, as you know, or yesterday, it was formally announced in the New York Times that our government was prepared to accept a coalition government in South Vietnam. And I learned from the Cambodian embassy today that we are doing what we swore we would never do, holding secret talks with the Hanoi government without South Vietnamese officials present, which means that we are selling them out over their heads. I learned that the representatives of American students in colleges sent 3 men out to Hanoi to have a talk with the Hanoi government. They came back, and the report that they brought back was so shocking that the people that sent them back there, I shouldn't say shocking, because it was so frightening to the American left. The people who sent them out there refused to accept that story. What they came back and told was, Hanoi said to them, go back and make trouble. You've got to make a hot summer in America this summer. You've got to stir up riots, demonstrations, get people shot so that more people will demonstrate. Then their indignation, because this is our last card. They are so near to breaking. They have lost so much equipment. They are so discouraged. When these boys came back and told this, why, the people who sent them out there refused to believe it, so they sent a man out named Mr. Douglas Dowd, D-O-W-D. Now, I had never heard of Douglas Dowd in my life, because as you know, I operate in Europe. I have what I like to think of as a one-man intelligence service run by an American abroad trying to bring you these reports. Consequently, I am more familiar with what American eager beavers and leftists are doing abroad than I am what they're doing in this country, and I had never heard of Douglas Dowd. And Douglas Dowd, whoever he is, has just come back here and reported to the student and university left professors that this is their last card, that they must make trouble in America if they're going to do anything to save Hanoi. As late as 6 weeks ago, Hanoi put out a propaganda sheet headed, "Where is the American left now that we need them?" This will give you an idea how the enemy is hanging on the ropes, and there is absolutely no sense in our selling out now. What we are doing is snatching defeat from the jaws of victory to sell out our boys. And what is very interesting, I arrived night before last on one of the jumbo jets, left Paris. My flight was delayed for 2 hours, so I didn't get out of Paris until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And a French official came out to see me off. I had spent 3 days talking with people there, and I found out that identically the same message that has been sent to the American professor and student left has been sent to Europe. And the left-wing professors are telling their students, make it a hot summer. We want you to mob the hotels where the comfortable people go for the summer. We want you to break into private estates. We want you to touch off turning strikes, tie up circulation, electricity. People who go for the summer, the tourists coming into these big high hotels, we want the elevators to cease running. And we've got to make trouble. And what is very interesting about this, how many of you people read in the paper back here that just 4 days ago the boy named Alain Geismer, who was the leader of the French student left, was arrested? Now Geismer has been sought by the police for the past 2.5 months. 2.5 months ago an order was put out for his arrest. And they couldn't find Geismer. Geismer was calling for the overthrow of the French government, for the destruction of all governments. He wants complete anarchy. Here's what's awfully interesting about this. The boy was arrested 4 days ago, and I learned from the official who came to the airport to see me off that Geismer was arrested because he telephoned the police and said, I will get out of the subway at the Gare Saint-Lazare station. I will go to the Rue de Rome, such and such a number, arrest me there. He had them arrest him to save his life. When they got him, they asked him why he did this. He said, they have already outpaced me. I am not far enough to the left for them. And here's a man who is calling for complete anarchy. And he said they were going to kill me so that they could have a martyr in order to stir up the hot summer in Europe. And then, of course, it would spread to America. And this will give you an idea what a desperate situation we're in and how senseless it is that we should even consider anything less than victory out in South Vietnam.